What is up, YouTube? Hello, Party Parrots. It is not only brand new season day, so we have a ton of awesome cards that I'm going to be getting gameplay videos out with Agamotto, who is such a unique effect, Isan, some great cards, but it is also patch day, which means we have brand new cards to go over, a whole new season, the new X-Men. It looks like these cards are coming from Grant Morrison's early 2000s X-Men run, so if you're a fan of that, and even if you're not, a lot of these cards are looking really spicy. I gave 2 cards 5 stars this month. We will see if these cards release as they are, because reminder, these are data mined. That means they are absolutely likely to change. We have seen months where no cards changed, and we have seen months where every single card changed. So, these cards can absolutely change, but it at least gives us a good idea of what to kind of look out for, even if a lot of times they'll just get a point of power or taken or given to them. Sometimes they will be completely reworked, and I think it puts us in a good headspace for where the devs actually are. But before we break down these new cards, starting with Esme Cuckoo, who looks insane for a season pass card. I just want to give a huge thank you to everyone who's ever watched one of my videos, and especially to all my subscribers. We officially hit over 1,000 subscribers, which means I've applied to be in the Marvel Snap content creator program, and I'm waiting back to hear from them, but I've met all the requirements and I'm super excited. Hopefully I can get in there, and yeah, that will be a huge boon for my content. But let's actually break down these new cards, because we have 8 brand new cards, so let's get into it. Now, Esme Cuckoo is a 3/4 with the on-reveal ability, copy a card from your deck into your hand, set its cost equal to 3 and its power equal to 4. This is a really powerful ability. We have seen effects similar to this that can raise power, and they've almost always been good. Agent Venom had to be nerfed. Ravonna Renslayer has had to be nerfed. We're getting another card like that, Khonshu, that sets cards' power later this month, and I'm super excited for it. And this is doing kind of that, right? It's going to set a card's power equal to 4. So if you can grab an Iron Man or a Gore, obviously there is a ton of synergy there. But not just there. I gave this card 5 stars because while it does help your, Arnim Zola, your big power, low power, big cost cards, this also works really well at like the middle cards. I have Silver Surfer and Brood on synergies here too, and I think this is like the Silver Surfer card. Because if this pulls out, say, a Brood, that's just going to be a 3/4 that gives you a 3/4 Brood. That is very powerful. I mean, that's Absorbing Man level of stats, essentially. Or you can grab cards like Absorbing Man, cards like Galacta that aren't 4 costs, set their power or set their cost to 3 so you can play them down. You can play on your last turn, no mana required, like Silver Surfer and Absorbing Man. That is really good. Now, there are some things to note with this card. I think, one, like I said, this card is going to be a staple in Silver Surfer, is how I see it. It's also, I think, probably going to be able to explore with like Iron Man and Gore. We'll see what that shell actually turns out looking like, but I'm almost positive there's going to be something there. But I think we really want to look at the important ability with it, which is that it is copy a card from your deck into your hand. That means it's not deck thinning. It's not going to pull one of your cards out and do that. It's going to copy it, which is both good and bad. If you pull out a Sebastian Shaw, that can be really good, but if your next draw is Sebastian Shaw anyways, it might not be amazing. It's not going to actually dig you closer to that Surfer or dig you closer to that Absorbing Man. So I still think that it's going to be really good. And if this pulls out, say, Silver Surfer, and then you have Silver Surfer, if your last turn is just 2 Silver Surfers, one of which already has 4 power, I mean, that is exactly what the Silver Surfer decks want. We already see them play things like Magic and stuff to try to play 2 Silver Surfers in the same turn. They're already playing cards like Gwenpool. If Esme Cuckoo can pull those cards out and make them 3 costs, well, this is going to be A+, 5 out of 5 for the Surfer decks, and I think some more synergy in some other decks as well. coming our first week, that same week as Esme, we have Surge in the Spotlight caches, and this card looks amazing. She is a 2/2 currently with the on reveal ability, give the top card of your deck -1 cost and +1 power. After you play that card, repeat this ability. This card, as written, seems insane to me. I gave this card 5 out of 5 as well because it is doing so many things. It is a 2 cost that will essentially mana ramp you. It's giving you -1 cost to your top card. It is also buffing your card. It's almost like Forge, giving a +1 to that card. And then it is repeatable. So how do you want to build around Surge? Looking at this card, I think you really want to prioritize cards that cost, say, like 4 and 5. Cards like Captain Marvel. Cards like Scarlet Spider, Galacta, Gwenpool. These kind of really, really solid 4-drops. Cards that you would really want to like Zabu, that you can then play proactively. And, I mean, imagine playing this on 2, playing Captain Marvel on 3 as a 3/6. Then, again, remember, it triggers again. That's why, while you can try to do this like in a ramp shell, like, oh, I'll make Gore a 5/0. And yeah, that's fine. But if you really, I think you really want to try to build your deck to be triggering this like every other turn at least a couple times in a game. Because if you can trigger this twice, that's -2 cost, that's +2 power. That's more than like Psylocke. That's better than Fastos, which costs an entire other cost. And another card that I really want to try this with is Thanos. If you can hit something like a stone off the top, make it like a 0/2 soul stone that then draws you a card, triggers again, you know, maybe triggers on your Professor X, so then you have a 4/3 Professor X, and you know, there's so many different options. I think Thanos is going to love this card. I can definitely see it with a lot of those like 4/3, like a lot of good 4-drop Zabu decks might absolutely use this as like another Zabu. And I think this card just has an absolute ton of potential. I would not be surprised if this card went down to like a 2/1 or it lost +1 power. I wouldn't even be shocked if this switched to -1 cost and -1 power, because as is, this card feels like it can just run away with games. Then coming the next week to Spotlight caches, we have Prodigy. Prodigy is a 3/4 with the on reveal ability. If this is in the back row, copy the text of the card in front of it. And this card, very fittingly for the name Prodigy and for the character as a whole, seems like the big brain card of the month. This is a card that I gave 4 stars, and honestly, I think if anything, it's going to be higher than that. But this reads to me like a card that is going to be incredibly confusing, complicated, hard to play. And what this card reminds me of, and why I say that, is this gives me heavy, like, move. Just like classic move or move bounce, where you need to be thinking like 2, 3, 4 steps ahead. Whenever, like, you can't just be like, oh, I'll put my Galacta here and then I'll start playing for the other lanes, or, oh, you know, let's just drop the Zabu over here. You need to be thinking from the moment you put a card down, okay, if I put Zabu here, does that mean that if I play Galacta right, that would mean that, or next to it, then Prodigy would be copying Zabu unless I get another card there. So what are my draws? How can I fit in Prodigy to be here? That being said, though, the power potential of this card is almost absurd, right? This card could be another Red Guardian. It can be another Shang-Chi. It can be another Killmonger. Any tech card it can copy. But not only is it like an absorbing man where it can copy your tech cards, it can copy your ongoings in like a Moonstone deck. If you played like turn 3 Captain America, turn 4 Moonstone, and then played this on that lane, it would on reveal to being Captain America, which would then get doubled by the Moonstone. That's going to be like 20 power, just right there. Just those 3 cards, you know, a 3-drop, a 4-drop, and a 3-drop. You know, I could absolutely see this being in like a Spectrum ongoing deck. I also think this card has a ton of potential with the Hood. If you play just the Hood on turn 1, and then that demon that the Hood made on the same lane, this on turn 3, it's a 3/4 Hood that's going to make a demon into your hand. And that's not even counting that you could do, like, you know, instead of playing that demon, you could play Joaquin Torres. You could play the new Fire Hair card that's coming out. Then play Prodigy. Then play Misery. Get even more demons. Like, is this a Victoria hand card? Is this an ongoing card? This could also work in, like, discard shells, where it can copy a Blade. It can copy a Morbius or a Collector in, like, a Bullseye. It could be another Bullseye if you play, like, Meek, Bullseye, turn 4 you play this and Blade, or Blade and then this. Then you have 2 Bullseyes. That's gonna just absolutely... It is like Mystique mixed with Absorbing Man that can also work on activates. Doesn't even technically need any of them. Remember, it's just copying the text. It could be Athena. The potential for this card is like a 5 out of 5. Now, how it will actually play, like I said, I think this is going to be a card that people who master him will be at the top of Infinite. And everyone else will be like, how do I get this card to work? But I'm still very excited for him, and I'm going to be trying him in a lot of things. And then we have coming to Spotlight Caches our first new one-drop in a while, Elixir. Elixir is a 1/1 with the Activate ability. The next time one of your cards is destroyed this turn, revive it here. This card I gave 3 out of 5. I think it has a lot of potential, like... Well, let's talk about it. It is a 1/1, which is not good stats. I mean, we've seen cards like Nova, Spider-Ham just fall further and further out of the meta because just playing a 1/1 is not really advancing. They need to have a good effect. And I do think that Elixir has a good effect, though. Remember, that Activate means that you can play him on turn 1, and then whenever you want to activate. If you're playing a Destroy deck and you're like, okay, I will wait until turn 5 and I play... you know, the Deadpool and Venom, and my Deadpool is already 8 power, and this will pull that, and the Venom gets it. Sounds great. Or that Wolverine gets resurrected here. You can get 2 Wolverines, 2 X-23s. That all sounds great. You can also do it on, like, a Misery deck. You can do it with, like, Cable, Hood, you know, any of these cards. You can double up their effects again after, say, Misery. You can do it. You can really... pick when you want to do it. There's also a lot to be said for just protection, right? If you play this card on turn 5 and you have an Infinite from like a Ghost Rider or, you know, a Hela that got Jubileed out, and then you just play this on turn 1 and activate it and say, no, if one of my cards will be destroyed this turn, I don't have to worry about Chong. Chong will just, you know, Infinite will come over here. I don't have to worry about Cannonball, any of these cards. So there's like a lot that this card's doing, but the stat line is kind of scary. So I think you're gonna really need to have to build around him. Will he actually see a ton of play? I think there will definitely be an Elixir deck. I think there'll be, you know, maybe Cork with Misery. There's a lot going on here, but I'm not sure with that 1/1 stat line, but I am excited for him to come. Our last Spotlight card for the month, but not our last card, as we have 3 more Datamine cards coming, so make sure you stick around. We have Xorn. Xorn is a 2/3 with the ability after any, so you or your opponent, 3 or 4 cost card is played here, move it to another location. This is a really interesting effect. I gave it 3 stars, but it wouldn't surprise me if it's lower or higher, honestly, because it's doing something very unique. First of all, it almost has like a Goose or like a Jean Grey where it's dictating where your opponents can play. And you, frankly. Obviously, you can play this on turn 2 and then play like Vulture, bounce it around. But that's really the only like movement card that gets buff that cost 3 or 4. The rest are like kind of 1 or 2 cost cards. Hydra Stomper, which is Datamine to be coming next month, would get moved, and that I think has a lot of potential. You can play like this on turn 2, then Hydra Stomper on turn 3. You could kind of see this working in like a Scream list, because the big card, and it is not lost on me at all if you know anything about the comics, why this card works so well with Magneto. But if you play this in like left lane, that means you can hopefully, as long as your opponent doesn't fill it, have a guaranteed lane to Magneto later. So if you're playing like Craven, if you're playing Scream, Miles Morales, you know, you can kind of play them here and then Magneto them over later. Maybe this will work as like a backup Scream kind of card. I also think that he has a lot of potential as like the Iceman effect, which is, so you play this card and there will be games where your opponent's sitting there with their Gladiator in their hand, or a Miss Marvel that they want to play in the middle lane, but you played Xorn middle and they just can't play it there, and they just have to retreat. And you're like, huh, I wonder why they retreated. Well, just like I said, Iceman can sometimes snipe that card that absolutely gets your opponent. Sometimes Xorn you'll just play, and like I said, your opponent just won't be able to play their 3 or 4 cost card there, which could be really disruptive. So it kind of has a lot of sneaky power that we're, okay, they can try to play there, but they probably just won't play their 3 or 4 cost cards there unless they're trying to get into like a Sanctum Sanctorum or a Death's Domain. So like, it's a very unique card, and I'm very excited for it to come out because I'm going to be trying it with Magneto, with Hydra Stomper. Maybe this is the card that makes you want Hydra Stomper in like a Scream deck, where you can play this on turn 2, and then you play Polaris on turn 3, pull their card over there, then you move yours. That's 2 movements for the Hydra Stomper. I don't know, there's a lot of potential. It's a very unique card, and I mean, he just looks awesome too. So now these next 3 cards, starting with Kid Omega, are not data mined to be coming in the Spotlight caches, which means hopefully there'll be a card that we can get for free from one of the new limited game modes. There's 3 of them. The Sanctum Showdown event had 3 new cards. Maybe this means this will be coming back in May, potentially. That's kind of my guess, but obviously we don't know. These are data mines, absolutely subject to change, so don't take any of this for granted. But we have Kid Omega, and I think this card is going to be a welcome addition for a lot of people because he is a 2/2 with the activate ability, destroy the next card you play this turn, gain its power. And this is a 4-star card, and this is the card that we've needed for a while now. Regular Destroy, I think, will absolutely love this card because Regular Destroy hasn't had a new card in like years. Like maybe Agony has really been it, but they've been running the same cards basically since beta. Cards like Deadpool, cards like Venom, and this is a card that with that activate means you can keep that power. You can like play that Venom, get that giant Venom on turn 5, and activate this, blow up that Venom, which is more power for your null, another trigger on your death, and still keep the power. You get that Venom's power, you get another death, you get another, just so much synergy just for base destroy. It also works with a card like Nimrod. One thing to note is it is not the next card you play here this turn. I think that would make this card a lot worse if it like wouldn't work with Venom or Carnage or anything like that. No, this is saying destroy the next card you play this turn, gain its power. So you can play Nimrod in another lane, activate this, destroy that, throw those everywhere. You can even do stuff like on the last turn of the game, play a free death and play null. You know, activate this, destroy the death, add 12 power over here, 12 more power to the null. That's such a crazy swing of a turn. I think this is the card regular destroy decks have been waiting for. I don't really see it outside of like those kind of classic destroy. I mean, it's another destroy trigger at any point, right? It's an activate, so you can play it turn 4 or 5 with your Deadpool. You can throw it like the last turn of the game, all you have is like a death and a Hulk Buster. You can play that Hulk Buster on the Wolverine or X-23, destroy that, have it go, you know, there's a lot of potential for that straight destroy deck, and I'm excited for him to come to the game. Good old Quentin. Then we have Hellion. Hellion is a 5/8 with the on reveal, next turn, you can move cards to this location. Now you might be saying, okay, this is clearly wrong text, that's just Cloak. And actually, no, it's not. It's next turn, you can move cards to this location. So unlike Cloak, which lets you and your opponent move cards, this one will only affect your side of the board. And because of that, it is instead of a 2/4, it's going up to a 5/8. And This card is not very exciting. I give it 3 stars because I don't think this card is bad. I think you can probably put this in like any move deck, any deck with Human Torch, any deck with Vulture, and it'll be good, right? Cloak is a good card. Being able to, you know, move those, especially with a Heimdall deck. If you have any desire to play Heimdall, this card will probably be really good in that deck, but it's really not doing anything amazing, and like I don't think you play it in the move bounce versions. You can probably play it in the other ones, but I mean it's another movement trigger, potentially more, which is great, but like you're not gonna want to cut your Iron Fists or your Madam Web, so where does it kind of fit? Like it's not doing anything crazy unique because its effect is so similar to Cloak, and that's why I gave it 3 stars. But that's like it's like a very boring 3. I think it's just a card that you can play and move and you'll be happy, or you can not play it in your move decks and also probably be happy. But hopefully once this card comes out, we'll see a bit more of those Heimdall versions of move, because I do like me some Heimdall. And our final card before we break down the spotlight caches, we have Mercury. Mercury is a 2/2 with the ability you can move this once, and the ongoing enemy cards here can't move. So let's look at this. Let's kind of break down all of its effects, right? It's a 2/2, so not great stats. We've seen Jeff as a 2/3 that can move once and also can be played anywhere, and it's really fallen out of the meta. Jeff is not what he used to be. This being 1 point lower is a bit scary. Then it has its Hate Bear text, right? Ongoing. Enemy cards here can't move. That's pretty nice, but on a 2/2 body, I mean, how hard is it to fit like Gorgon? You know, Gorgon has a, I think, more generally applicable ongoing kind of hate card, and even that's like people are really down on that card because it's just hard to fit in, and that's on a 2/3. That being said, though, you put them together and it's a little bit of something there. But let's talk about the elephant in the room. I think there is one card that is going to make this card really shine, and you'll notice there's one card there in the synergies. Cannonball. This says enemy cards here can't move. Cannonball says move the highest power card. If it can't, destroy it. Well, Mercury should say you can't move that card, and this should just be a 2-drop that you can move around. You know, if you played in the left lane and then your opponent's plays their Ares on the right or something, and you're like, oh crap, I need to destroy that. On that last turn, you can just move it over there and have a basically 5/8 Shang-Chi. That has a lot of potential, I think. Will this see play outside of that in like small mover decks or ongoing? Probably not. You usually want cards that can, you know, have a lot more power than a 2/2. But with Cannonball, I mean, we saw how good the Cannonball Professor X kind of combo was. And that's what this is basically doing. You play this out, and then you say, I can move this card anywhere and play Cannonball and just destroy their highest power thing. Almost certainly win that lane. So, a lot of potential with Cannonball. Outside of Cannonball, probably not a lot, but might be a really good card. That might be enough. I mean, we've seen Cannonball be nerfed before. Is this a card that could, you know, have that kind of threat? It's a scary card. Really, honestly excited to see what happens with it, but hopefully it releases as it is, because I'm definitely going to be trying out some Mercury Cannonball. And now let's break down these spotlight caches. So, super big shout out to Snap Fan. That is where I get all my information on these data mines, the spotlight caches, what the new cards are, and let's talk about these ones because this month seems to have some great ones. The first one's a little bit weak. We have Surge, which I think if she releases as is going to be insane. We have Hope Summers, which is a good card. She's not as meta as she once was, but she is still a really good card to have in your collection. If you don't have Hope, this will be a great week to open. And then Emperor Hulkling, kind of a miss. He's not a bad card. He's just a card that there's almost no reason to ever play. Like, you can always just play like Magneto where he is, or any Red Hulk. So, pretty good cache overall there. Then we have Prodigy releasing with Silver Sable. Silver Sable is a card that sees a lot of play in Bounce. and a little bit of play in some versions of Afflict, so good card to have. Definitely not necessary, but if you like bounce, sees a little play in Afflict. And then Frigga. Frigga is a card I think a lot of people kind of missed out on the, power of how good she was. So if you did, like, I gave Prodigy a really good rating. I think Frigga is really good, and Silver Sable is a good card to get. So I think this is going to be a really stellar week. I think a lot of people are going to be saving caches for that one. Then we have Elixir. Elixir, kind of one of the cards I rated a bit lower, but releasing with Erishim and Malekith, both very strong cards. Very unique art, but Malekith is a card that I think should be seeing more play than he honestly is, and Erishim is obviously Erishim. I'm positive you know how unique his effect is, we can say. And then our final one is Xorn. Xorn is releasing with Ajax and Scream, and wow. Scream and Ajax, both of these are frequently, if not the top deck, but top 5 decks in Marvel Snap. If nothing changes too much in the meta, since they've released, pretty much since Ajax has released, Scream has had to get nerfed, has gotten multiple cards nerfed. This is a great week to open as well. Excited to see Ajax and Scream coming back. But that is going to do it for the video. Let me know what you guys think about these cards. Are you excited for the new X-Men? What cards are you looking forward to? Are you as big on Surge and Prodigy as I am? Do you think that Destroy potentially getting finally their first new card in a while is good? Let me know down below, and I'll see you guys all in the next